What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero, back with another retro Yu-Gi-Oh video, and we've got a pretty interesting one here because I have actually a patron request for a video about just etiquette on Dueling Book, especially if you're a newer player to these retro formats on Dueling Book. What etiquette should you use for playing these games, right? And there's a lot of different things that if you're not used to a manual simulator can be a bit tricky to navigate. So I'm here to basically explain some basic guidelines for things. So the first rule of playing on Dueling Book, in my opinion, especially if you're new, is to not jump into games with DB randos. So that means like if you don't know the person on Dueling Book, probably best not to just jump into a game with them because some people are very, very toxic. They can be very rude. They can try to like basically angle shoot to win games and stuff, and that's never pleasant. But if you're an experienced player on Dueling Book, it's fine. Like for instance, I'm gonna probably jump into one of these games here in the unlimited unrated section soon, just to sort of get an example on video of just etiquette things. But, you know, in general, if you're newer, join a Discord server like the YGO from Zero Discord server or Format Library or any one of these Discord servers where you can play people who are in a community where if they do act rude, you know, you can call them out on it in that community and, you know, sort of disincentivizes that sort of rude behavior in the future. So that's basically like the first step in my opinion. But once you have played on Dueling Book for a bit, you can play against DB randos. So, you know, I see someone hosting Critter here. I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to see how it goes. Let's, I label this deck as Fusion because it's an older list that used to have more fusion elements in it, but now it's more of just a Muka Muka beatdown deck. So let's dive into the Critter format game here and say good luck, have fun. I'm also going to ask, if you are doing YouTube stuff, I like to ask about it, so I'm just going to ask because maybe they're not okay with it being in a YouTube video. Okay, cool. Looks like they are. So let's do the rock, paper, scissors. Generally, it's not good to like spend too long on rock, paper, scissors. You know, just pick a random thing and do it. But rock, paper, scissors can be pretty fun. And then you're going first. So a big question that a lot of people ask is how long do you spend on a turn? And I think largely that depends on the turn you've got. In the case of this, you know, like we've got a pretty simple first play to do. Thunder Dragon, get another Thunder Dragon. And to be fair, like if you're new to playing a deck, like the lines might not be as easy to, you know, put down as you might expect. But I think in general, you can sort of see what you want to do on first turn. Of course, this changes depending on the format. Some formats are more combo heavy than others, and you'd have to like potentially think more about that first turn. But it all just comes down to, like, as a rule of thumb, if you got a simple turn to do, it's generally best to just do that turn as quickly as you can. And if you got a complicated turn, if you've been playing your other turns like relatively quickly, then you know you've sort of built up the goodwill, right? So you know when you reach that point, then you can be like, well, this actually is a complicated turn. Can I have some time to think on this? That might be longer than a normal turn, but since you've been playing, you know, pretty quickly for the rest of the game, I think in general, your opponent will be fine with it. So I'm not going to talk about the gameplay that I'm doing that much here because, again, I'm sort of just talking about the etiquette stuff. But that was also a pretty simple turn. I did summon out, lodge in, attack in. You know, that does put us at risk of something like Raigeki, but I feel like it's fine doing that. And, you know, if I had a complicated turn where I had multiple monsters to decide about summoning, then, you know, I'd potentially have something there to think about and spend a while on, but that time I didn't. So there's also the question of how long do you wait to react to your opponent, right? Like, if you do a play and you know your opponent might have a response to it, how long do you take before you actually do something or not? And I think that, like, my general rule of thumb is, one, know whether there's actually responses to things or not in a format, because sometimes there won't be. Sometimes, you know, if you're in Yugi Kaiba format, for instance, there's no things that negate in that format. So, you know, you don't really have to, you know, be like, oh, I activate this spell. Do you have a response? Because no, they will not have a response, you know? So I think in general, it's just good to know what's out there, know what you need to wait for a response for, and then, like, give your opponent some time in case they do have it. Like, I honestly say if you haven't asked like okay or thumbs up or something for your thing, which you don't have to do at every response, but it is generally good to do, I think, most of the time. If you haven't done that sort of thing, then I think like giving them half a minute is good just to wait. And then if they haven't responded in that time, like you can feel somewhat free to go ahead. And then if they're like, wait, I was thinking or something, then I would tell them, ooh, that's an interesting one. I'm going to use Woboku there. And they got the solemn for that. I got the solemn for that. So, sorry to distract from the discussion here with that gameplay. So, but yeah, in general, if there's a response, okay, they've got a Woboku of their own there. Okay. Also, one of the difficult things about dueling book versus other things is that you're not sitting across the table from someone, you're not like talking to them as much. So, sometimes if you have to remind them of certain things, like for instance, like Woboku was activated this turn, so I just declared it engrave. Didn't really feel the need to type out a whole thing. You can type out a whole thing if you want to, but I generally feel like it's not as necessary here. Yeah, I mean this turned out pretty badly for us in terms of the game, but I think it was good for just an etiquette thing because there were a couple moments where like, we had we didn't really do much that required a response, but yeah. So that was a single. Sometimes people host in singles, but it looks like we're going to go to the game 2. So I like going to a game 2. I think it's nice. And in siding, you might wonder how long it's good to take for siding. I think if it's a pretty simple, straightforward siding plan, I think you can generally like not take much time. You can potentially like act like you're siding a bunch of stuff, but I would say if you are doing that, don't spend too long. Don't spend 10 minutes not siding anything and being like, oh ho, they'll never guess that I'm not actually siding something here. Because that's just, very rude and it wastes your opponent's time. What you want to do if you are doing that, you can potentially wait for your opponent to be done siding and then, finish siding there. But then that runs into the difficulty where like if you are doing the same thing that your opponent's doing, where they're also sort of just being like, oh ho, I can also wait for my opponent to be done here, then you run into an issue where you're both spending like 5 to 10 minutes, trying to psych each other out. So that can be a bit awkward. So I'd say in siding, just try and be straightforward. And if it's going longer than like 5 minutes or something, then I'd probably say you probably should get a little bit quicker there. But yeah, let's see. So I've talked about how long it takes to play, how long it should be for response. I think another thing I want to talk about is what to do if you like misclick. Do you have to just live with that, or is there something else that you have to do instead? And I think in general, my policy for misclicks is like, well, it depends on whether it's a tournament game or whether it's a like just casual game. So, if you do have a more casual game where you're just like playing around with a friend, or maybe you're just playing around with someone, testing some things, I think it's perfectly fine to just this is interesting. So, do we crash? I think we do. But if you've got like a more casual game, I think it's fine just to take things back as long as it's not like too severe. Like if you remember something that you should have done 2 turns ago, like don't be like, oh, I actually should have done this thing, because I don't really think that is polite to do. But I think if it's like you realize it right away and you're like, oh, sorry about that, I meant to do this or something, and it is a casual game, as I mentioned, then I think it is fine generally to take that back. Of course, if your opponent's like, no, I won't allow you to take that back, then respect your opponent's wishes because you are the one that misclicked and did something like that. But if it's something that like cannot actually happen like legally, then maybe there's something that you could do there. But I think in general, it's good just to go by what your opponent wants to do in that case if like it's your mistake and it's actually a legal misplay that you could do. Now, I would say that with misclicks, if it's something that reveals information from your opponent, like let's say you summon out a Login in this case, and your opponent activates Trap Hole, and you're like, wait, I misclicked, and then you summon out Mass Torture instead. That is a bit iffy. I would not necessarily count that as a legitimate misplay. or a legitimate misclick, that is. But I do think that, like, in general, you give your opponent the benefit of the doubt. And also, something that's coming up here is like, they didn't take down a counter for swords. Now, they might remember it here. They might not. You can either, like, select the swords thing and remind them, but it looks like they figured it out already there. So that was unnecessary there. So that's also something that you should keep in mind. Like, when someone's forgotten something, you can just say, like, okay, go for it. Or you can potentially do something else there. That's kind of rough. That white magical hat can get ripping here, which could be kind of unfortunate for us, but we get a lot of good stuff in hand. So also, when it comes to picking random cards from hand, this is actually a good point to make. I do like the approach that my opponent used, where you just click on a random card as long as the hand's been shuffled beforehand. Because, die rolling, while it can give a random number, it also can waste time. And generally, you don't want to be wasting people's time. That's the biggest thing, I think, with a lot of these etiquette things. You want to make it so that you're wasting as little time as possible. So, yeah, I would just say, in general, don't like do things that can be annoying for your opponent to sit through, unless it's like what your deck does as the combo, I'll say. That's a big thing as well. I think that's the major things that my patron wanted me to note. Oh, there's also how should I show my hand, they asked. The show hand thing is just in the bottom right corner. Do that when they've got like a dust shoot or a coffee or something like that, and then you can potentially use that to do things. What do we search here? Do we get a do we get a stone? These are all interesting questions. I'm gonna get a stone because it pairs with our goblin. But yeah, that's off the top of my head what I can think of here. So to reiterate, I mean, I think a lot of it's just like basically common sense for a lot of it. And I know that if you are new, you'll probably be a bit slower than, a seasoned player or something like that. But I do think these are important things to keep in mind. What are the odds they have heavy? I'm just going to set this and pass. But yeah, it can be, I don't know. It's always a learning curve. You're always going to mess up at some point or wind up with an opponent that might be like, a bit more uptight than other people, where they're basically like, oh, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, and at the end of the day, you gotta know that, like, sometimes those opponents will be, right, and like, yes, you do have to hurry up because you are going a bit too slowly, and other times they'll be not so right. Other times you'll wind up in situations where they're unreasonable or things like that. And while it can be tough to figure out how to deal with that sort of person when you're a new player, because you're still new to the thing and you're not necessarily confident enough to be like, oh, actually I am in the right here. I think that sometimes you just gotta um go with your gut. Worst thing that happens is like you're potentially wrong about them being like too uptight or something like that, and I don't really know what the consequence of that. We're all just dueling people online. So, and if it is in a community, like I mentioned, which I would recommend getting people, getting duels from the community itself. If it is that, then people can discuss like afterwards, like, oh, was that too slow? Was that too fast? Things like that. But I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Yeah, let's do that. But also another thing that can pop up, I guess, is lag issues. Lag issues are something that happens to everyone. Don't get too uptight about it, or not uptight, but hung up on it, because people understand, especially if you type like lag in the chat, so that way they know that it was lag, and it's not just like you slow playing. But lag is something that happens on Dueling Book. It's just a fact of the server. We have a very, very good free service here with Dueling Book, and like, nothing's going to be perfect, but it's the best we got. And lag is unfortunately a rough feature of it. And it looks like we're reconnecting now. Okay. Okay. Yep. Let's do this, and then let's do this. Yeah. So but that happens, you know, and people understand that that happens because it's happened to them as well. I figured that would be that, so let's go for the heavy. If they got another heavy, then they got another heavy. But I figured I had to set that solemn anyways. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you've got any other questions on etiquette that I can answer. I think I'm generally pretty good on Dueling Book etiquette because I'm always just like, you know, do what you want to do to others. To like because or not, I messed up that phrase. That would actually be not good, but do unto others as you want done to you, right? So if you're thinking about like, what do you want your opponent not to do? What do you want them to do? Just do the same sort of thing, right? Do you want your opponent to, ooh, change of heart on which target? Okay, that one. Do you want them to, you know, just rapid fire through their turn if you have a potential response and not give you time to respond to it, right? Do you want them to, like, I mean, there's a lot of just things that you probably wouldn't want them to do to you, so don't do it to them, you know? Yeah, that's I guess my whole spiel. I'll probably think of other things as we go through this game. I will say other things that you can do. There is a nice little thumbs up button down here and also a thinky face next to the chat log. And you can use those. Those are fine. I use them a lot often. But I do think it is important to note that sometimes those can be easily missed by your opponent. And also when you start typing in the chat, that is, you know, it does reveal like on your thing, like 3 dots start popping up. And so that lets your opponent know, oh, they're typing something. They might have a response to this or something. So that can be a little bit better of a way to communicate with your opponent with the chat instead. Also, you know, for instance, in this case, I get the stone back. I could have mentioned that in chat. I just clicked on it on the field. And that also worked pretty well, I think. So this is going to be a pretty good turn for us if it goes through. So let's hope it goes through. Oh, I'm flipping up the goblin. So this is a case where I did thumbs up for my opponent. Okay, so there we go. So let's just rip some cards out. See, I'm just clicking, and yeah. So I was waiting for a response from my opponent. That's why I did the thumbs up there. But also this should be at 1. But you know, sometimes they don't necessarily have a response. In that case, like they've already taken the damage, so like, you know, it can be a bit iffy. Like if you flip up goblin, they're like, oh no, but like I already took the damage, so you can't do that. But in general, opponents are very reasonable. Like my opponent here is very reasonable. They're not one of the DB randos who is just like, you know, like basically saying like, no, you can't do that, you can't do this, when it's very reasonable things to be able to do. So I do think that like we got lucky here. We got a good opponent, which is very nice to see. You don't always get that, so you know, you gotta thank your lucky stars when you do. Okay, yep, that's fine. So I'm gonna search out probably a Muka. I'm gonna search out a Muka. Yeah, and see there again, like that was a potentially late trap hole, but you know, I don't sweat it that much. Like they did trap hole. It was clear what they were doing there, and so I think it makes sense to just allow it, right? So yeah, and let's just rip a card out. Let's rip that one. Oh, we're just too good. We're too good at the game. I don't know what to tell you, folks. Also, some banter in the chat can be fine, right? Like, if your opponent isn't like inclined to banter, you don't have to do it. But like, it can be fun to communicate with people in chat and just be like, you know, we're having a good time. We're playing this to have fun. You know, so I think it is good to do. So, shouts to you, Embassy, for being such a good sport through this. And yeah, so this is gone, I believe. Yeah. So, what do I want to do here? I think I want to know what's that. I could also bring out Muka. I want to know what the set is. Oh, it's a cannon soldier. Okay. Okay, all right. I don't need to commit my cannon soldier. See, that was a bit of a thinky move there. Like I had to decide whether to commit cannon soldier into potential mirror force or not. And you know, it took a little bit of time, but it wasn't too much time. So, that's the sort of amount of thinking that you should be doing here. And that was, I think, a pretty important turn to think about. But, yeah, I don't know. We didn't have to really do much with that turn, right? So if you have a straightforward thing that you're doing to always start your turn as well, I think it is important just to, do that thing. I mean, that's really good. That is about as good a draw as we could get there. So let's go pot, and we got lag going on again. So yeah, I mean, I think this should be fine. And then, I mean, this is probably gonna be pretty close to the end of the game. And they could have a trap hole back there, to be fair. They got Judgment. Okay. Yeah, Judgment's coming down. If they had Judgment in the pot, we would have won anyway. So that's why I was kind of quick on the pot there. Normally, you'd wait for a response, but I didn't want to sort of waste my opponent's time. Because again, if they had Judgment, I would just reveal like Can Soldier and then win the game that way. So I think that was a good move for my opponent, holding the Solemn. But yeah, we're in a pretty good spot here. Solemn for the follow-up is very good as well. So let's just try and summon out a Soldier. And let's see if we can get in here. Waboku, okay, that's pretty good for them. And we'll pass back. So, I've sort of transitioned into more just talking about the game itself. But as you can see, we got a pleasant game here, right? Most games that you'll get are pleasant. I think in general, that's just the way it goes. So I also probably should have set the Solemn last turn. But let's do a heavy. Let's see what we get. Ooh, okay. Yep, there we go. And let's do the one more game here. In general, people are offering rematches. If you got time, like, go for it. It's fun to do with people, especially in a format that you enjoy. So, yeah, I'm not doing any like side decking shenanigans here. I just like Muka. I think Muka's fun. So, yeah, if you sign on to this video just for the etiquette and stuff, and you never heard of Critter before, Critter's a pretty fun format. So, if this gameplay has sort of piqued your interest on it, I recommend checking it out on the YGO from Zero Discord server or Format Library, or the Critterland Discord server as well. That is a Discord that I haven't really been super active lately, but I could see it definitely becoming more active in the future, especially if more people jump on it. So I think the retro community is also really good. I will just say most of the people in it are fine people who are just happy to find other people sharing the hobby. There's gonna be bad apples in every bunch, right? So keep in mind that like not everyone in the community is gonna be perfect, but I think on average people are pretty good. Yeah. Oh, something that you should also remember in these formats is first turn draw is something that can be easy to forget in Dueling Book because you get the unlimited thing. So yeah, I'll just tell my opponent. Yeah, it can be an awkward thing. Like generally what I like to do is if they forget the first turn draw, then I like to let them like I like to let them just take back that play. Again, it in a more casual setting like this. Yeah. Because I feel like it's just good to, just be nice about it. Like if you forgot your first turn draw, you would want to you'd want your opponent to tell you and stuff like that. So I feel like it is pretty good. But Sangan coming down here. Yeah. Sangan pretty good pressure here. But yeah, in unlimited games, you don't get the first turn draw, so it is important to keep in mind. What do I set here? I'm just going to set that. But yeah, I mean, this has been great. Again, big shout outs to Embassy for playing these games. It can always be tough, dueling against people who you don't quite know on Dueling B. I mean, I faced Embassy in the past as well, so I fear that they would be a good duels for this because, they were very nice in the previous games that I played against them. So I figured that, there wouldn't be any trouble here. And I mean, this duel has been lovely so far. So again, thank you to Embassy for playing these great games here. And let's just hit in. Let's see what it is. Oh, I was hoping it would be a masked, but instead it is a soldier. Okay. Let's do this. I'm not sure if I'll have any more nuggets of wisdom about, oh, that Raigeki's pretty good there. I'm not sure if I'll have any more nuggets of wisdom about, like, etiquette on doing it. Because, again, I think it is pretty straightforward overall. While it can be a bit intimidating to get into at first. Ooh, yep. That is rough. They get a draw here. But, it can be intimidating to get into at first. I think overall, it's not that bad once you get into it. So I would say the biggest thing to do, just dive in. It may be intimidating, but you just got to do it at some point, right? Yep. Well, that's why we got the heavy. And we drew into a Muka. Love to see it. Let's see here. We could potentially reborn as well. I don't hate reborning. Yeah, let's just reborn. Let's go for it. Why not? This way we clear their whole board. If they've got Dark Hole, they got Dark Hole, It is what it is. Yeah, let's set that. Yeah, I hope you all enjoy the video here. I I should probably talk more on live gameplay. I don't normally do live gameplay videos. Just because, like, I don't know. I feel like the way that I think about games, um, I don't know. There's just lots of moments of silence. I'm gonna think about that actually. I feel like they don't want to lose this guy, so I actually am gonna do this. Might as well. It also ends the video sooner, so for people who are a bit tired of just watching critter gameplay, this will potentially uh put you out of your misery sooner. But I like critter gameplay. I think it's really fun. Haha. Just chipping in a bit at a time. Seeing what happens. But yeah, and don't worry about not knowing all like the commands and stuff. Because there are specific commands like slash draw however many to just draw that many cards right away, as opposed to just individually clicking draw, draw, draw on your deck. There's like slash half to have your life points for something like Solemn, especially in weird math situations. I think in general you don't need to worry about that sort of thing. As long as you're playing the game, you'll pick it up eventually. And yeah, so that's 200 life points. Gone down the tube. But we do have Fisher to clear that, so. It's kind of a rough spot for Muka to be in. We got a Muka in hand, but we don't have the hand to support it. So that's kind of rough. I'll also say, like, if you do have somewhere to be after a certain game, like if you're like, oh, I can only play for like 10 minutes or something, it's good to tell your opponent that beforehand, as opposed to being in the middle of the match and then being like, can you please hurry up? I have to be somewhere in like 10 minutes. So I think that's also something that's important to note. Well, Mirror Force is gone, so let's just go, wah. Yep, that's fine. Okay, it's a masked. Kind of worrying. Not gonna lie. Just gonna get rid of it. Just gonna get it out of here. Fish it away. Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know it's not my typical stuff, but if you like seeing retro Yu-Gi-Oh content, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow even further in the future, even further beyond. Do I summon out a Muka here? We'll have 1500, 26 plus 18. That's 44. No, I don't think it's worth it. I'm just gonna attack him. Waha! Yeah. And then I'll use the Thundra just to buff up my hand a little bit. And back to them. Yeah, Dueling Book I think is a great service. Again, hopefully this helped you out with etiquette if you're new to it. And yeah, I don't know. I need more etiquette in these videos because you know I probably should have just ended the video partway through, but I feel like people want to see the full match. You know, Heavy Storm. Oh, that's a bit scary. That is a bit scary. Not gonna lie. They could have some big plays coming. Dark Hole plus Reborn could be something. Okay. Fisher on the Witch. I think I'm going to search out another Witch off that. It's a little bit scary. You know, they went for a big play there with that heavy. Okay, set in 1, set in 2. Okay, I'm okay with this, honestly. Mirror Force is gone. See, and again, this is sort of like a thing where, like, doing that, that's fine. Oh, no. Yeah, I like to play as if I don't know. But if that sort of accidental reveal happens, I like to play as if I didn't see it and see what happens there. So they're gonna set 1, pass back to us. We've got a pot. I mean that's pretty good. So we'll go for pot here. And since we saw Solemn, I am gonna wait for a response from them because they might have something. So Robin's pretty good. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna summon a Muka and see if that is fine. Yeah, okay, that's gonna eat the Solemn. I think that makes sense from their perspective. We've gone through 2 heavies, so I feel fine. I don't think they've got Robin of their own. If they do, that's very good for them. So let's just try and attack it in their set there. Go to battle phase if I can. The lag, no. Well, you're seeing in real time, that lag is a bit awkward. But again, you gotta just wait out the lag here. It's how it goes sometimes. Yeah, nothing you can really do when the lag hits you. But people are, again, understanding of it. If they're not understanding of it, then it is what it is. Reconnecting, there we go. Ah, the lag. Well, at least they'll be able to see in the video that the lag hit hard. Oh, look, let me get the battle phase. Ah. Okay, there we go. There we go. Probably should have kept one of these in hand, but like, I don't know, why not? Robin's a really good card. And I got Witch to search other things out, so I'm not too concerned here. Okay, we drew into a Lajin. That's pretty good for us. I feel like they don't have Trap Hole, or else they would have used that instead of Solemn. So, let's just get cracking here. Yeah, this probably should be the end of the game. I assume. Yep. Yeah, and the lag's too bad for me right now. Yeah, the lag's too bad for me right now, but I probably would have played another. But at least this is a good place to end the video. And yeah, very cool stuff. So it does show that you can play against people on DB, just, who are hosting and doing that stuff and get good results. I would, though, recommend, yeah, see, there it goes. The light is hitting hard here. But I would recommend just like, in general, starting with a given community that has people in it who are chill before diving in to a person on DB. But I can vouch for Embassy. Embassy's cool, and there are people out there who are cool with this sort of thing. It's just good to keep in mind that occasionally you get people who are a bit iffy. But anyways, let me know what you thought of this video. Do you want more videos of me just chatting about a different topic of the game while dueling live? Or do you not like this sort of thing and don't want me to make more in the future? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, leave a like down below as well. Subscribe to the channel, do all that YouTube stuff. And if you want to join the Patreon and potentially suggest future videos like my patron here did, then you can join that in the description. And also, big shouts to my patrons Rinchwin, Porkchop Brendonker, Tyler Compton, GMYFS, Dump Truck, and Scout Zero. It means a lot that you all support me. It's way encouraging to make more videos like this in the future. Well, I hope you enjoyed as always, and until next time, I've been Ben from YJ from Zero. I'm signing off.